So Matt, you've decided to hang up your boots at the end of the season. Just run us through your thinking in terms of that decision.
I think you just get to the point when you know it's the right time. I probably was going to do it a lot long ago. Before I came down here, really, that was my thinking. But having worked with Paul in the way that I've been able to train has extended my playing days, if you like, because I was able to train in a different way than what I was doing before. Paul's enabled me to spend a lot more time on my recovery, whereas I wasn't able to do that before. And I think 2 years ago, I played 49 games, in one season, which was the most I'd ever made in my career. So it was just managing my body differently, and Paul was a manager that enabled me to do that.
So I mean, actually coming down to Exeter, has it extended your career a few years than it would have normally?
Definitely. When I was playing, and I still saw Ryan Giggs playing at 40 in the Premier League, that was just incredible. Now I think where I am, how fit he was. But again, he got to that point where he was able to recover in a different way, using different techniques, and having more time enabled him to continue playing. So it was the same for me. But I've enjoyed the last 5 years. I'm just coming, thinking I was going to retire. It just kicked me on even more.
So I suppose for players that get to sort of like 33, 32, 33 can look at it and just look at the way they train and extend their career quite easily.
Diet played a big part in all my career, really. I think I've gone through so many different specialists at different clubs, different nutritionists, and they all have different ideas, and then there's different trends that come in. I think at the beginning of my career it was all about carbohydrate, eating pasta before games, after games, and refueling and all this sort of stuff, and you carry a lot more weight around when you're having carbohydrate. And then I went through a period when it was the complete opposite, where it was no carbohydrate, it was all about protein and fueling your body on that. And then towards the end I had to really cut down on calories because you just can't keep it off. So it's a tough thing to have to deal with while training, and suddenly you're thinking how you used to eat, but when you get to 33, 34, your body changes. You start to hold on to stuff, and if I didn't change my diet I wouldn't have been able to play as well.
You made your debut back in the early 90s. Is that nutrition side and that, the research and everything that goes into the diet and the training, has that come on massively during your time of football?
Yeah, huge. Not just that, the other side of the game now that we spend a lot of time on is the analysis and the fitness and the video, and just the tools now that we can use with computers and stuff to track that sort of stuff. GPS units the players now wear, we've now got that here with our fitness stuff, so we're starting to capture more data. We can then look at injuries. But when I first started playing, it was recovery sessions for lads after a Saturday was put a black bin liner on under their jumper, and they'll go and sweat it out, and they come in and weigh themselves, and they'll be three pound lighter, and they think that they've got all the beer out from the weekend. So that was the sort of mentality back then. But the game's a lot faster now. You can't do that sort of stuff anymore, and players are more aware.
You touched there on the tactical side of things, and obviously you've helped out with that a lot during your time at City. How interesting do you find that side of the game?
I've always been interested in the tactics side, and I've gone through 23 managers in my career, so I've seen lots of different styles, lots of different coaching styles, management styles, and some were basic, some were more complicated, and I've sort of taken little bits from each one of them. And then obviously I've worked with Paul, and Paul sees the game very similar to how I see it, and we just have a good relationship in working out what we want to do with our team and what the opposition are doing, and we kind of meet in the middle and work out what players we need for that game. And my job is to sort of give Paul some pictures of what I see as the dangers and the threats of our opposition, and then also the weaknesses that they might have in their team that we can exploit with our players. So I'm sort of giving him the tool to then go out on the training ground and teach the players how he wants them for that weekend, or midweek game, or whatever it might be, cup game.
You mentioned there you've worked under 23 different managers during your time.
Yeah.
Who would, out of that, would you pick out as the best managers you've worked under, and what qualities did they have that led their teams to be successful?
I had three really that stuck out. Obviously Glenn Hoddle was one of the ones that came in and changed the mentality of Southampton Football Club. We'd been a relegation team for 4 or 5 years that I was there, and we relied on Matt Le Tissier to pull us out of trouble every year with his goals, and Glenn was one that really changed the thinking behind players and started bringing in a few different training methods, and the tactical side came in alongside him, and that was when I started to really get involved in understanding that. And then Gordon Strachan came in, who I love working with, and he was more fitness based, about his team being the fittest and making the least mistakes. And from that we took I wouldn't say ordinary is probably the wrong word, but a lower level Premier League team, and we went to the FA Cup final and we finished high up in the Premier League, probably the best finish that they'd had for years. So he was one that I looked up to, and he again was one that was on the diet side as well. He played till he was in his late 30s, I think, at Leeds, and he talked a lot about his diet and how that helped him. And then obviously Billy Davis was the one that I had success with at Derby, and his was more about the detail and not leaving anything to chance, and making sure you'd done your preparation and your analysis stuff. So I've taken bits of what he had, Glenn and obviously Gordon. And now, go on, sorry.
I was just saying some colourful characters in there as well with Glenn and Gordon. Are there any? Certainly Gordon as well, quite a lively and funny character. Is there any stories from your time that you wouldn't mind you telling him of Gordon?
I have to think about what I can say on camera, but I remember we played in the game and we weren't playing particularly well in the first half. I don't know if you remember a player called Anders Svensson.
Yeah.
Really talented midfield player, and he was sitting next to me, and Gordon came in and was screaming and shouting and trying to get a reaction from the players and talking about it. And I think Anders must have been talking to somebody at half-time about maybe swapping shirts or something, and Gordon had seen it and had picked up a shirt and said, you're obviously trying to sort out your shirt before we've sorted out the game, and threw his shirt at Anders, and it landed on his head, and Anders stayed with it on his head for the remainder of that team talk, which was about 15 minutes, and he just sat there underneath the shirt, and nobody could laugh because obviously Gordon was quite a fiery fella at the time. He laughs about it now because I've seen him since, and he says that he's calmed down a little bit now that he's Scotland manager. But yeah, there was a few.
Was that because Anders was just too scared to take the thing off? Or?
Yeah. Gordon was in his flow, if you like, and he'd have been. I think he was scared that if he took it off, Gordon was going to be there in his face, so he just left it on. But we all laughed about it in the evening. But at the time, it was he just didn't want to crack a smile because everyone would have gone. But yeah,
obviously under Gordon Strachan you reached the FA Cup final. In terms of your whole career, would you put that down as the highlight, or is there another moment that you would pick?
I've been very lucky to have lots of moments really. We won the playoff final with Derby. It was an amazing day. I captained the club, lifted the trophy at Wembley, which is something that you dream of when you're a kid. I played in the FA Cup final. I was hoping that would be at Wembley, but it wasn't. It was at the Millennium Stadium. That was the first game in that stadium with the roof shut, so that was quite an experience, and the first for Southampton for a good few years, so that was a great club day. I played for my country, which was another great time, obviously a few years ago now, but still have fond memories having to watch it back on VHS. I can't just go online and see it. I have to go through and rig up a VHS recorder to my TV. But obviously, Leicester was great. I went to Leicester for 5 years, and we got promotion from League One, and that was sort of the start of that club rebuilding itself. And it would be lovely if I could finish with something this year with Exeter.
Yeah, because obviously you've had those promotions and those trips to Wembley. I mean, if you get Exeter promoted back to League One in your final season, that would be a real nice way to cap it off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I have got it in my mind that would be the sort of complete set for me. I would have League Two promotion if we were to achieve that. League One winners promotion, Championship promotion, obviously playing in the Premier League, and then FA Cup final, which would be quite nice. Yeah. Just need an England cap at 40. That would be all right.
Also, you've scored in every level as well, apart from League Two. Right. So I suppose a goal in the playoff final would be quite nice.
Okay. Yeah. That would be a nice way to finish.
Just touching on your time at Exeter City, what would be the highlights so far? Obviously, that we've still got a lot to play for this season. I don't know really. I don't think there's any moment that stands out. Obviously, we have something pretty special in the squad at the moment, and it would be a nice way to finish off a story from this season, from where we were in December. Obviously, we've got 2 games to do that, to set up these amazing days that you get with playoffs. But we couldn't have picked 2 harder teams, I think, to play in these. Obviously we didn't pick them, but just the way the games have fallen, in Doncaster wanting to win the league, in Carlisle having been up there for so long, falling out of the playoffs, desperate to get back in it. But I'm excited for this squad to see how they can finish it off. In terms of, obviously you've been in those promotion battles as well, what's the key message you would give to the rest of the players in terms of trying to make that playoffs and get up through the playoffs?
I would probably just say try not to have any fear. There's so much talk about it, press, media. Nerves are fine. I always prefer to play with nerves, because I know that I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, and I'm sort of playing it over in my mind. But fear is something that can sort of destroy a player when they don't need that. They need the nerves. Just go out and play and produce what you do in training week in, week out. And the players that can do that are the ones that go on and be successful. The ones that let fear get in the way and get affected by that are the ones that unfortunately don't become successful. And I think we've got a lot of good players in our squad, and players that do consistently the right thing, and I'm hoping that that's what comes out in those games.
And just finally, what does the future hold for yourself next season? Do you still see yourself going straight back into a football role for next season?
Well, I'll obviously wait to see how the season finishes, but I'll sit down with Paul in the summer and We'll discuss, what he wants to do, and if I'm part of that, then I'd obviously like to continue working with Paul, because he is a very talented manager and someone that I click with. I have an understanding of what he wants, and hopefully that's a partnership that continues. But I can't decide on that until I know where we are in the summer and what league we could be. We could be still in League Two, so that would be a different decision if it was League One.